Hi, welcome to the Town Council Forum with the candidates. We have 5 candidates. There are 4 open seats, and one of those seats will be a 2-year term. The other 3 seats will be 4-year terms. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Roman Moore. I've done this here in Silverthorne a couple more times, or a couple times prior to this. So I've done this here in Silverthorne, also Frisco, and the town of Breckenridge. So I've been involved with the community, and the efforts to do these is strictly for one purpose, and that's to help you as voters have a better understanding of what the candidates are about and where they come from, where they stand. So hopefully that's what we achieve here tonight. And I have a list of questions that we have already made up that the candidates have, and then there are some questions that you have submitted to me that I don't think the candidates have seen. But this is part of the process here to where we will do this with questions the candidates have already seen and prepared for, and then there are questions they will be asked that will not be prepared. They will be prepared for, but they may have a pretty good idea of what's coming. The format tonight will be that all candidates will get asked the same question. There will be no loaded questions. There will be no questions directed at one candidate, not others. Everybody here is on a playing field that's level. So everybody gets to answer the same question. How they answer that question is strictly up to them. And they will have no more than 90 seconds to answer that question. So a minute and a half. You don't have to use the whole 90 seconds, but you will have a minute and a half to answer a question. And also, I'd like to, before we start, just introduce the candidates from the far end over there, wearing the red. That's Robert Kieber, longtime Silverthorne resident. He has served with the town's planning commission for more than 10 years with a background in finance. Kieber has also served on the board of directors for 2 local homeowners associations and was a board member with the Summit County Youth Baseball Organization. Russ Camp, one of 2 incumbents in this year's election. Camp has served on Silverthorne Town Council for the past 2 years after serving with the town's planning commission for 7 years. Prior to his work with the town, Camp worked with the Snake River Planning Commission and the Summit County Open Space Advisory Council. Tom Marmons, a professional pro bono mediator with the Summit County Small Claims Court. Marmons has served with several organizations related to public safety. Marmons was recently elected to the board of directors for court-appointed special advocates, known as CASA, and was previously a member of the Red, White, and Blue Fire Advisory Board. And Joanne Nadalin, appointed to town council on July of last year. Nadalin served on the town's planning commission through last year, a volunteer with High Country Conservation Center in Sylvana's Community Garden. She also served as an accounting executive before moving to Summit County. And Tanya Shattuck, with a background as a small business owner and previous work in community planning, banking, and property management. She looks to join town council for her first term. Shattuck has served with the town's planning commission since 2006. These are your candidates, and a brief little background, a bio on your candidates. I would like to ask everybody in attendance tonight to please turn off your cell phones. Anything that would be a distraction that might make noise, please take care of that right now if you haven't already done that. Also, out of courtesy and respect to other people and the candidates, let's try to keep any kind of commentary, applause, keep that down, please. We would like you to just listen very carefully to what each candidate has and show them the respect of the questions that they will have to field tonight. So without further ado, I think we are ready to roll. We're going to start on the far end. So, Robert, you will get the first question. Everyone else will answer the first question also. So we're going to start with you on this. Please share with us why you are running for town council, and also please highlight any community and public service involvement you've had in Silverthorne or Summit County. 90 seconds, sir.
Thanks, Roman. Like Roman said, I'm Bob Keeper. I've been a planning commission member for 10 plus years. I think my math is closer to 14. I've been doing that free of charge. I don't get paid for it, so have been volunteering a long time. And the reason is I've been a resident here since fall of 1991. Moved here from the Midwest. Could have moved anywhere and decided Silverthorne. Is my involvement. I lived in Willowbrook 10 years, was on the board of directors there. Now live at the Ponds, moved in there in 2001. Have been on the board of directors there, and just recently, I say retired, after going through lots of litigation and things, if anybody knows about the Ponds. I've been involved in community involvement and always wanted to do things that hopefully will make things a little bit better than the way I found them. My background is I'm in banking now. Previously, I was with Dean Witter before I moved here. Always had an employment since started as a paper boy back in the old days when you threw papers in the morning and the afternoon.
You have 10 seconds, Tom, or Robert.
So basically, I have the interest, I have the experience, and I have the desire to continue serving.
Thank you. Russ Camp, please share with us why you're running for town council, and also please highlight any community and public service involvement you've had in Silverthorne or Summit County.
Let's do the second one first. I'm finishing my second year on town council. The 7 years prior to that, I was on planning commission here in the town of Silverthorne. During part of that time and part of the prior time, I spent 12 years working on the County Open Space Advisory Council, which gave me the opportunity to spend a lot of your tax money. But we bought a lot of open space, which is what that is all, OSAC is all about. It's securing open space for the county. And then I spent 8 years on the Snake River Planning Commission from the time I moved to the county in '95 until I got on to OSAC and then moved to the town of Silverthorne and got involved in the town politics, yeah. What I would like to do is I'd like to help finish what I have been involved in over the last 9 years. And we've got a lot of things going. Some are further along than others. But I would like to have an opportunity to finish the theater. I would like to have an opportunity to really build a walkable downtown in Silverthorne. So it's citizen friendly. And then
10 seconds, Russ.
lastly, I would like to get affordable housing onto Smith Ranch.
Thank you, sir. And next, we have Tom Marmins. Tom, please share with us why you're running for town council. Also, please highlight any community and public service involvement you've had in Silverthorne or Summit County.
I'll do the community service first. You said that I was on the CASA board. I'm also on the Community Care Clinic board. I'm on Silverthorne's Police Advisory Board. I'm on the Colorado Governor's Performance Review Board that writes that little book you get before you reinstate judges. I put together a program for the 5th Judicial District for the District Attorney's Office for dispute resolution, primarily non-felony criminal resolution. I do mediate pro bono for small claims court, although I mediate for the police departments and the DA's office for pay, not pro bono. I believe that among the many issues on next year's town council, we'll have to address 2 issues in particular. First, we need to address the continually escalating cost of the Lake Dillon Theater project. While I think we all support this project in its original form, we need to have a serious discussion as to whether or not there is a point at which these increased costs become excessive and what benefits it's going to provide for the town and citizens. Second, I believe we should push much harder to develop the Smith Ranch, as
10 seconds,
Ron just
Tom.
said, with more 5A money that we can use. I'm not naive. I'm fully aware that some of the issues are controversial, and there'll be some strong opinions on both sides. I believe my
Thank you,
background
Tom.
as a
Your time is
professional
up.
mediator will help resolve those issues.
Joanne, Madeline?
I'm running for town council because I believe in the vision of Silverthorne as a thriving, vibrant downtown with a strong economic base, recreation, arts, and culture for our residents and visitors, and keeping our strong connection to the Blue River. I want the town to maintain its strong financial position and excellence in providing services to our citizens and benefits. And I want to see us realize the benefits of the Performing Arts Center as a catalyst towards the development of the downtown. I started attending planning commission and town council meetings shortly after moving here in 2012, joined the planning commission in 2014, and was appointed to town council in 2015. I sit on the council. I'm actively involved in the sport committee, the Summit Combined Housing Authority, and was part of the group that developed our first arts and culture strategic plan. I'm involved in Sylvana's Garden. I'm an active volunteer with the High Country Conservation Center, and as you mentioned, with my homeowners association. I want to see us develop the downtown, realize the benefits there, develop workforce housing, whether it's at Smith Ranch or in other places around the community. In everything I've volunteered for, I've been lucky to work with great people who care about the community, and I'd like to continue that work on town council.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. And Tanya, same question.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tanya Shattuck, and I love the town direction and where the town is going, and I want to be a part of this. I love where I live. I love my house, my family, my dogs. I love my job. My job now is consistent with working with the Summit County Planning Department and as a code enforcement officer. I have been on the Planning Commission for 10 years with Silverthorne. I've been 3 years with the Citizens Advisory, the Police Advisory Board for Silverthorne, and also with Summit County. My background consists, as Roman said, with property management, banking, as just a few of the things, and hotel management. Things that I'm very interested in with the town and wanting to become town council would be definitely the town corridor, along with the theater. I'm interested in encouraging Hispanic, Mexican community to participate more in the cultural and arts activities, and along with accessible housing, along with bike path, and making sure that the town has been, I feel that the town has been running conservatively, and I feel that I want to keep that and also make it, keep it sensible.
10 seconds. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tanya. As we move on to question number 2, we'll start with Russ this time. So we'll alternate who starts each question. Russ, question number 2, looking forward to the next few years, please identify what you believe are the top 3 issues facing the town.
Well, number one in my mind, and it could be any one of the 3, is making the theater happen in Silverthorne. Right now, it's a sign out there that says the theater's coming here. There's a whole lot more work that needs to be done before there's a physical theater there. And I would like to be part of the opportunity with my construction background to help the town put a viable, ongoing theater in the town. The second thing is the walkable downtown. We have such a long way to go. The vision is that at some point, the downtown will go from the river to Adams Avenue. Maybe beyond, but at this moment, that's part of the vision, is to get to Adams Avenue. There are many, many businesses that are looking forward to coming. And the fact that the theater has been advertised as coming to Silverthorne, there are now businesses coming to us and saying, what do I have to do to be part of Silverthorne? That's a very positive approach, okay? And the last thing is Smith Ranch. It's 51 acres. Well, the front 11 acres will hopefully end up being a shopping center.
10 seconds, Russ.
The next 51 acres going back, a big portion of that I would like to see is affordable housing and then market rate housing beyond that.
Thank you, Russ. Appreciate it. And same question, looking forward to the next few years. Please identify what you believe are the top 3 issues facing the town. Tom?
Going back to the theater, trying to figure out if it is financially feasible to do what we're doing with the theater. At this point, it seems that $9 million investment, when the theater in 2014 netted $1,700 without paying rent or utilities, is going to be a very big jump. And will that interfere with other capital projects that could be done? Another capital project that should be done, as everybody is saying today, is the Smith Ranch project. The council has had proposals, but it has not moved forward, even though it's got 5A money, and that should be, in my opinion, very serious workforce housing development. Staffing of police and public works. We're building Maryland Creek out. We're doing other things here. And do we have the financial wherewithal to increase our police force and our public works in order to maintain all of the additions that we're making?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Tom. And now, Joanne?
The first issue is our economic health. Unlike other communities in Summit County, we don't collect property taxes, so we're very dependent on sales taxes. Therefore, one of the most important issues for us is to stay focused on economic development and the strength of our business base. And that leads right into the second issue, which is capitalizing on the Performing Arts Center. The Performing Arts Center isn't something that's going to pay for itself. It's a catalyst for the downtown, it's a driver of development, and it's going to let us get businesses in town other than just the revenue that we get from the Lake Dillon Theater Company that will make that a positive for the community. It's also going to be a hub of activity, not just for people who want to go to the theater, but for people who want to see outdoor movies or people who want to just sit on the lawn and enjoy the river. The third is we do have to address workforce housing. References to 5A money, if you look at how much money we get from 5A on an annual basis, it's only somewhere in the neighborhood of $280,000. And the costs to build Smith Ranch are very significant. They're in the tens of millions of dollars. So we've got to look at Smith Ranch, update the studies of what needs to be built out there, and we also have to look at other more immediate opportunities for workforce housing, like the density bonus that we're offering for developers downtown, encouraging employers to provide some kind of workforce housing, and those are my 3 issues.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
I feel that these are all under our goals of the master plan. I'd like to see more parks. Then there would be also parking, theater, riverwalk, restaurants, and connecting sidewalks. I feel are all very important issues. And then also housing. I think that it could be anywhere from needing more rentals to homeownership is much needed. We all know that this is, affordable housing is a countywide issue, and feel that that can be addressed with a lot of the projects that we have going on. So I'd like to see that continue.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. And last but not least, Robert, the question, looking forward to the next few years, please identify what you believe are the top 3 issues facing the town.
Thanks, Roman. I think there's more than 3, but I'm only going to hit 3. First thing is we are a growing community. The demographics are changing, and one of my major concerns is to make sure that we've got an adequate police department. Training, equipment, and that as we grow, Maryland Creek, Angler Mountain, and all that, we need to maintain and improve a low crime rate. A low crime rate improves property values and businesses coming to town. Second thing is we're going to hit more and more with redevelopment. The years I've spent on the Planning Commission, we're seeing more and more people in the residential neighborhoods who are having homes where they're wanting to redevelop, add an accessory apartment. I think we're going to start seeing tear downs and new houses going in. Want to make sure that we've got the comprehensive plan, the ordinances, and the codes to handle that. And the third, but not the last, is the tax base. As long as we've got low crime and we've got good people running the town, we need to improve our tax base. It was said earlier, we don't have the real estate tax, but we need to support our local businesses, and we need to go out and recruit other businesses. We've got a lot of undeveloped commercial land that could be developed. So I think we need to look at that also.
10 seconds. Okay. All wrapped up. Thank you very much, Robert. And now we move on to the third question tonight. The third question is a significant portion of the decisions that the Silverthorne Town Council makes involve land use matters. Please describe your familiarity or experience with land use processes and highlight any aspects you feel are particularly critical to making sound decisions. Tom, I'm going to start with you on the third question.
I'd like to gather and process as much information so I can weigh the positives against the negatives, analyze the financial aspects as well, consider all of the other council members, staff, and interpreting the code. Come to a rational decision, avoiding the pitfalls of making an emotional decision. There is a lot of commercial land available. There's also the development that is going through the process of rezoning right now. And if the theater does work to bring people in, we have a very substantial chance of growing a downtown walkable neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. And Joanne.
I have experience on land use matters, both from the perspective of the governing body and from the perspective of developers. For 3 years in a prior job, I worked with property owners on the development of the base area at a ski resort, making sure their projects met our design guidelines, PUD requirements, and county requirements. This gives me valuable insight on how the process can work better. With regard to land use decisions in the town context, there are several things that are really important. First, on land use decisions, the council's acting in effect as a judge of an application. It's critical that the rules are followed and applied fairly to every applicant, so you need to be really familiar with the rules. In addition to reading staff reports, council members have to be familiar with the town charter, the town code, the comprehensive plan, the design district guidelines, and the neighborhood character. It's critical that we also understand and follow the rules that prohibit us from being lobbied by an applicant outside of the public meetings. And there's no better way to get familiar with all that than as a planning commissioner. Second, a council member has to approach every application with no personal agenda or bias. In addition to reading the background materials in advance of the meeting, you have to listen to the presentations, the testimony, the discussion, and take it all into account, discuss it in an open and public forum, and make your decisions in that way. And again, the experience on the Planning Commission is invaluable in learning how to work that way.
Thank you very much, Joanne. And Tanya.
Perfect. I feel that I have constantly been doing this with dealing with the land use on the Planning Commission that I have been on for over 9 years, and that's what we do in that committee. I feel that with the greater housing variety and density, it reduces the distance between housing, workplace, retail, business, and has more impact on development. Stronger neighborhood characters, pedestrian and bike-friendly environments. I feel that this all goes back, and Summit County, or Silverthorne has done a great job on the charter and the code to handle these.
Thank you very much, Tanya. The question, in case anybody lost track, was a significant portion of the decisions that the Silverthorne Town Council makes involve land use matters. Please describe your familiarity or experience with land use processes and highlight any aspects that you feel are particularly critical to making sound decisions. And we still have Robert and Russ to answer that question, so Robert, go ahead.
Thanks. Like I said earlier, I've 14 years on the Planning Commission. I've lived in 2 of the HOAs up here. Know the town fairly well, have been involved in a lot of the development that's occurred over the last 14 years here, from Maryland Creek to Angler Mountain to commercial properties. So having been on the Planning Commission, I've probably made a few enemies and made a few friends with council and citizens, but honestly, I voted for what I thought would be best for the overall picture of Silverthorne. I've got 20-plus years experience in the mortgage lending business in Summit County also. So from a residential standpoint, I have great insight to what people are looking for, what people can afford, what people can't afford, and, all aspects from affordable housing, deed restricted, up to, the so-called trophy homes. So, I think the experience that I've got of being here and my involvement in all of that, plus I have a background years ago of being in city management and city finance when I was in the public sector. So I've got a pretty broad background in both sides.
Thank you, Robert. And Russ?
Well, the fact that I started off in this county 21 years ago and spent 8 years on the Snake River Planning Commission started to build the background that I brought to Silverthorne. My first 7 years involved with the town, I was on the town planning commission. And having a solid, well-rounded planning commission is the essence of your land use process in a town. You need to listen and evaluate the planning commission's recommendations, okay, as well as the citizens' inputs, because the citizens are living what we're talking about acting, okay? I have spent 29 years on homeowners association boards in the time I've been here, which obviously means I've been on them, a couple of them at the same time, okay? All that experience is what gives me the opportunity to better serve the town of Silverthorne on land use issues.
Thank you very much, Russ. Question number 4, Joanne, we'll start this one. As a member of the Silverthorne Town Council, you'll be one of 7 members involved in collective decision-making. In your opinion, what does an effective collaborative decision-making process look like? And is there an example of how you've worked with others to achieve a successful collaborative outcome in the past?
Effective collaborative decision-making requires openness, willingness to share all the information that you have, active listening, asking questions, trying to understand other people's positions, and working to overcome any of your personal biases. And all of this has to be done in a respectful and non-confrontational manner. I think if you look at any of the planning commission meetings or town council meetings that I've been a part of, you would see that that's how we conduct ourselves. Another good example of that is our Sylvana's Gardens Steering Committee, where we make collaborative decisions on almost everything, whether it's how to schedule work days or buy new hoses. And finally, our council work sessions are another great example of collaborative decision-making. We met a couple months ago to review a strategic plan for one of the departments and had a huge number of ideas that we could consider. But through a very open exchange of ideas, we narrowed it down to just a couple of options that we're further exploring. I've been involved in successful collaborative decision-making throughout my career, and I still am, whether it's on the council, at Sylvana's steering committee, or on the town volunteer committees. Working cooperatively with members of the community, the volunteer committees, and other people on the council is really important to me.
Thank you, Joanne. And Tanya, same question.
Perfect. I definitely would agree with what Joanne had said. I feel that I'm definitely welcome to open debates. I definitely am able to weigh out the pros and cons. Discussion, I definitely can see the different viewpoints. I'm able to give, I feel it's definitely able to give some on those. And the bottom line, I always want to make sure that I'm thinking about what is the best for the town.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. And Robert.
I was having a hard time with even pronouncing the collaborative decision-making. These words are pretty big for me. So bottom line is I've been on the planning commission and I've been on boards and dealt with clients for many years. You can disagree, you can argue, but you should walk in friends, you should walk out friends. I was telling someone, and I'm going to paraphrase General Patton about if everybody's thinking alike, somebody's not thinking. And having disagreements, whether it's in the planning commission or the council, is not a problem. You end up with a better product that way. You broaden it out that different views are brought in. So can I do a collaborative decision-making process? I believe so. And I think that in the records of the Planning Commission, you can see that there numerous times that planning commission voted one way, council voted another, or we had a split vote. I still am friends with everybody.
Thanks, Robert. Russ?
Excuse me. The most important thing about being on town council and having projects and land use issues and everything else that comes before a council come up with is that you cannot come in to a meeting with your mind already made up. You have to listen to what's going to be presented. You have to evaluate it and see how it fits in to Chapter 4 of our code, which is what makes this town go forward. Okay? The decision, if you do the proper listening and evaluation, the decision will make itself.
Thank you, Russ. And Tom?
I think I can be pretty short and sweet. I mediate on a regular basis in some pretty difficult situations between neighbors or husbands and wives, and et cetera. I think being on council and making decisions with the background that I have and picking up all of the information that's presented, going through it, trying to figure out where the middle ground lies, if there is a middle ground. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose when you're trying to make decisions. But I just think the understanding of all parties' opinions and where they're coming from is what leads you to a final decision.
Thank you, Tom. And now we move on to question number 5. Tanya, you'll start with this question. As a member of the Silverthorne Town Council, you may find yourself involved in disagreements or conflicts with residents, maybe even fellow council members or town staff. Where do you draw the line between compromise and sticking to your guns on any issue?
Okay. I feel as an elected official, I would feel that I would be looking at the town's best interest that would be promoted and not my personal views. Compromise is most important for people to work together, but the well-being of the community, the town, needs to be the first issue. I want to work with people to achieve those community goals. I feel that I'm in the community enough and able to be approachable for people to be able to have those kind of discussions.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Robert?
Compromise and sticking to your guns. I just celebrated my 40th anniversary, so you don't do that without being able to compromise a little bit. Like I said previously, in the planning commission meetings, we've had disagreements. We've had some real hot topics. This is kind of nice to see in all the planning commission meetings. We have a 90%. We don't have anywhere near this amount of people here. I can work with people. I'm not always going to agree. They're not always going to agree with me. But again, I'll go back to say that, with an open mind, I walk in, I'll evaluate, and hopefully we'll come out with a better product.
Thank you, Robert. Russ?
The most important thing about working forward on a town setting is that you must listen first and resolve second. Once you get a resolution to a problem, it should basically it should take care of itself. Sticking to your guns does not provide a collaborative decision-making process.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Tom?
First, have knowledge of the issue. If it concerns council, understand the presentation, having studied the package presented by staff. Staff usually presents a pretty sophisticated package. My mediation training has taught me to reframe negatives and de-escalate conflicts. I don't know if everybody understands the word reframe, but when somebody goes off on a tangent with a lot of not nice words, you can turn it around and just say, you really don't like that person, do you? And it kind of calms things down. The non-felony criminal background I work with at the DA's office has prepared me well to deal with a whole lot of different types of conflicts and come out with very good resolutions.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
Principles to me are things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And those are the kinds of issues where I see a bright line. You have to do the right thing. And I think this is especially important when you're a member of a governing body, because you have to know the rules, you have to apply the rules, and you have to treat people fairly. Even if you don't agree with a rule, you have to apply it unless the law is changed. So with regard to the business of the town, for example, the code of ethics, that's something where we can't compromise. It's the way that we have to treat people. It's important to remember the town's governed by its charter, its code, and its other governing documents. As a council person, even if you don't like a particular code provision or guideline, you don't override it or ignore it. You have to apply the rules and apply them fairly, even if you may not believe that that's in the best interest of the town. When you're a member of town council, people, the citizens, expect you to be able to resolve your conflicts and always keep the best interests of the town in mind.
Thank you, Joanne. Moving on to question number 6. Robert, it's back to you for this to start. Based upon community desires, the town of Silverthorne has established a number of policies and codes aimed at creating a revitalized downtown with a vibrant pedestrian-oriented feel. What is your vision for a downtown core? What additional role should the town play in helping to attain that goal?
First thing I would say is I think the town needs to be picky. We're in a unique situation where we have properties that could be redeveloped for the right amount of money. We're going to see, out-of-town businesses want to come in and develop. In-town county or in-county businesses want to develop. But let's not jump the gun. I think that's why the Planning Commission and the council have set up this downtown core. What I envision is some mixed-use properties, things where we have not only the pedestrians, but we have the businesses that can be supported by the pedestrians. We do have somewhat of a detriment. We've got a highway that runs through it. And it's a highway that goes north to Steamboat and other places. A lot of towns, and Fort Collins is an example, where it kind of dead ends. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that CDOT's priority is to move the traffic. Our priority is to keep the traffic here and spend some money. So we need to be picky. We need to work with good developers, and we need to know that we're in the catbird seat. We don't have to jump at the first thing that comes before us.
Thank you, Robert. Russ?
Since 4th Street dead ends into the town center, I think it's extremely important that we do what's necessary to make 4th Street the center of town, north to south. I also think it's important that we expand the town core from the river to Adams Avenue, as I mentioned in one of my prior statements, okay? The town will probably have to get involved with subsidizing or buying property when it's available and when it makes sense to be able to turn the town core into a viable opportunity. Probably still could take 30 or 40 years for that to happen, because there's a lot of private property that sits in what we consider today the town core. The town core, in my vision, goes from the river to Adams and 2nd to 6th. There's a lot of properties in there, and we need to work with them very diligently to make them become part of the town core as the current council sees it and the future councils going forward.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
I think we take our lead by looking at other towns our size, see what they've done, how they've developed, attend development conferences. There's a lot of developers that hold conferences and provide insight into how you can develop and how you can bring developers into an area such as ours, and develop a really strong urban renewal authority that can use zoning laws, and we are rezoning now, and also the use of a lot of incentives. There's a lot of incentives that the town can provide in order to induce people to come in.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
My vision for the downtown is consistent with what's in the 2014 comprehensive plan. It should be a place that feels like a destination, it's vibrant and exciting, and I view the Performing Arts Center as a center of activity or a hub of activity that's going to draw people into Silverthorne, and those people, we have to be able to get them across the highway into the area that we're calling our downtown. I would like to see it have local restaurants and retail stores and a big art and culture component. We've already started to do things to realize that vision, including the design guidelines, the town core rezoning, and the town core zone district. We should take full advantage of the benefits of our urban renewal authority that we already have, including tax increment financing. I don't think the town should be in the role of being a developer, but we can play a key role in putting together landowners with developers that we know about or who contact us. And again, the biggest step we've taken already, is our partnership to build the Performing Arts Center and getting that activity into the area. Because without people and foot traffic, you can do whatever you want with buildings, but there's no business without the people there.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
I feel that the town's role should be looking definitely and working towards parking, lighting, zoning, pedestrian friendly. I feel that we need to look at decent restaurants and the right shops to be in these locations. I feel that it is a vibrant town corridor for us, with the High 70 nearby and along with the Highway 9 corridor. I think with doing this as a multi-use with the housing is also something that needs to be addressed. I also agree that we need to be looking for good developers to help us get in the right direction on this. And I also feel that it would be great adding the art, statues, planter boxes, all play a big role in looking towards the town corridor.
Thank you, Tanya. And moving on to question number 7. Russ, you'll start this question. Question number 7, the town owns 50 acres of property referred to as the Smith Ranch, which were purchased to reserve space for workforce housing. What would be your vision of the development of that property, specifically with respect to the types of housing and median income levels served?
As part of town council and planning commission prior to that, we've had some adequate opportunity to look at the 51 acres that makes up the Smith Ranch. The front 11 acres is ideal to be a small 11-acre shopping center. I realize it's not affordable housing, but the people who live on the property in affordable housing behind that are going to need some place to go. And for the most part, it may not be automotive. So I believe that that front 11 acres makes a perfectly ideal shopping center. The middle section, before we start going up the hill in the back, is ideal for affordable housing. And I believe it should be condos and townhomes, multifamily. And 20 acres of it, as my wife reminded me today, having done the similar thing in the town of Vail, 20 acres is a lot of space. So I also see children's play centers in that 20 acres also, as well as the affordable housing, because people who live in affordable housing, as a general rule, will have more children.
10
The
seconds,
back,
Russ.
the back portion should be market rate housing and should be market rate housing.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
Smith Ranch has always been the prime location for workforce housing. Several proposals have already been presented. None of the proposals have been acted on, and the stated reason has been the cost of infrastructure. Although there was 5A money available, it has been stated that the theater project could hurt the town's ability to fund other capital projects. Yet we desperately need workforce housing. And I'll read something that actually council did put out. Higher annual debt payments means less funds available for other capital projects and specifically asset management projects. So we really have to balance what's being done with the theater and what else we want to do in this community.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
Even though there have been studies in the past about Smith Ranch, the world has changed since those studies happened. I think if you look today at what's going on with the demand for rental housing, you would agree that a study that's 3 or 4 years old doesn't really address today's needs. So I think the first thing we need to do is figure out the right mix of housing, both rental versus ownership and market rate versus affordable. Specifically with regard to the question of what area median income levels should be served, I think it should be in the range of 80% to 150%, which is people who have a household income of $70,000 to $130,000, because that way we can provide ownership opportunities to policemen and firefighters and teachers and small business owners and the people who are the foundation of the community. Again, the issue of 5A money, the Smith Ranch property, the part that's for residential, was purchased with 5A money, and that money had to be accumulated over a number of years. So 5A money isn't going to get us to the point where we need to be to actually build Smith Ranch. We need to find developers to work with, and we need to find the right partners, because this is going to be a 20-year project. So it's important that we do it, and we do it right, because we're only going to get one chance to do it.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
Perfect. Yes, with the 5A monies and the infrastructures that we've been talking about, I feel that the town council has done a fantastic job, and they'll know when they're ready to make that happen. The different levels, we have the working class versus the affluent people. It's the rental units versus the homeowners. You know, in Silverthorne, we do have quite a bit of examples, being the Sierra Madre or the Blue River apartments. And I think we need some more of those things. We also can't forget in those areas, looking at the grocery stores, other shopping areas, daycare, childcare, and affordable housing. We're talking about doing over in the Green Village. But we also can't forget our others that are just the people buying the fixer-uppers. So I feel all this is combined.
Thank you, Tanya. And Robert?
A number of years ago, the Planning Commission had a proposal before us for affordable or attainable housing, which is an oxymoron in this county, and to the west part of the Smith Ranch. I will admit back then and now that I voted against it. And I voted against it not because I'm against affordable or attainable housing, it's because it was setting up an extremely high-density area where it almost puts the people that live there in kind of, oh, you live over there. You know, we have a budding neighborhood of Willowbrook, and anytime anything is presented to the town council or planning commission, I think we need to look at not only who it's going to help, but who it might help or hurt as a neighbor. So the Smith Ranch, you know, it will be developed over a number of years. It is going to take a developer that does understand that you can't do in my opinion, the high density so that you give the stigma of, oh, you're in the affordable or the attainable housing. Breckenridge and Frisco have done some excellent developments. I've been through a lot of them. I financed a lot of them. So they are an asset. I just want to make sure that whatever is brought up and proposed and approved is right for the town itself and the people who live there.
Thank you, Robert. As we move on to the next question, question number 8. In a few months, the town of Silverthorne will begin constructing a performing arts center in partnership with the Lake Dillon Theater. Town also recently adopted an arts and culture strategic plan. If any, do you see the arts playing, what role, if any, do you see the arts playing in Silverthorne's future? And Tom, I believe you'll start this one.
I think with our population, it's going to benefit a very small percentage of the people here. If it works to induce other businesses to move in, then it's utopia. But that was the same premise that the pavilion was built on, was to bring other businesses in and create a cultural area. And that hasn't really come to fruition as yet. So investing $9 million in the theater project and putting us in a capital fund shortage, I don't think is the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Joanne?
Cultural activities and arts are known to be economic drivers. If you do any research on that, what you'll find is that by bringing people into an area, you're driving foot traffic, which helps you get the ability to support businesses in that area. If the town council didn't believe this was going to be an economic driver, we would never have approved the investment in the Performing Arts Center. Just the announcement of our partnership with the Lake Dillon Theater has brought businesses into town. River's Edge Condominiums, Angry James Brewery, both of those companies said they are coming to Silverthorne because they're excited about being one of the premier companies in our downtown. I think that we should have an emphasis on arts and culture, and it should not just be limited to downtown. It should be a part of the fabric of what we do, and we're doing some of that already. Our sport committee is working with a local high school to have bike racks that have art incorporated into them installed out at North Pond. So it's not a big expensive thing that we need to undertake, but it's something that we need to undertake and think about in everything that we do.
Thank you, Joanne. And Tanya?
Okay. I feel I'm really excited about this in the sense that it's a blank slate. This is brand new for our town of Silverthorne. I'm excited to see that there's marketing budget dollars going to make this happen. I feel that this is a clear path and a good direction. I'm hoping that it'll be the most pristine site for our town and for the community. Business friendly and looking at it as for walkability. One thing that I'd like to see or work towards in that sense is mainly just also creating art throughout Silverthorne and having that be our niche for the area, making it so that these are the views and conversation pieces that we have throughout our neighborhood. And I just want to make sure that we keep these friendly, reasonably economical, and remember that we're a service town.
Thank you, Tanya. Robert?
I will admit I have limited knowledge of the Performing Arts Center beyond what was presented to me when at the Planning Commission. The design, the location, and what I think it will bring into the town, I think is definitely an asset. As a town council member, I will request that we have very, very active marketing and management of this. It's going to put competition to the town pavilion. Now we've got 2 facilities to try to fill. So it's not always build it and they will come. If we build it and some will come, we need to be actively marketing it. It's not like the rec center where now, the rec center is just almost overpacked. I'm in favor of it, but I need to have more information, and as a town council member, I will do my damnedest to make sure that it covers its cost, and I would love to see it be an enterprise fund where it lives on its own merit. As towards art, we've got a bike path along the river. It's an ideal place to have additional artwork, statues, and things like that. I think of Loveland, Colorado, they have some absolutely beautiful sculpture up there. And I've got 4 grandkids that live up there, and they like crawling on it, and it's great for the kids, too.
Thank you, Robert. And Russ?
The arts and culture need to play a major role in the town of Silverthorne. Arts and culture, for the most part, are relatively new to this town. We have gone on for a lot of years and never gave arts and culture any thoughts. It is what's going to help make our downtown. And it's part of what will give us an identity going forward, because I don't really believe Silverthorne has much of an identity right now. But a developed theater and a developed arts and culture plan will help put Silverthorne on the map.
Thank you, Russ. We're going to, because we're short on time, we need to try and get in some of the questions from the folks that have been in attendance tonight. So I'd like to start with this question, and this question will start with Joanne. Given the sale of the building currently used by the Forest Service, how would you propose putting the resulting proceeds to use?
So I've got a background of 25 years in finance and accounting, so this is a good question for me because I deal with these kinds of questions or dealt with them all the time in my career. We could do some various things with that money. Because it's coming from the sale of a building, it's going to come back into one of the town's funds that has to be used for capital assets. So one thing we could do with that, obviously, is we could put that money toward the cost of the Performing Arts Center and maybe borrow less money than we otherwise would. But you need to look at that and analyze it and figure out whether that makes sense financially. So if there's prepayment penalties or the interest rate is favorable on that debt, maybe you don't want to do that. We could use that money to build another segment of the Blue River Trail. And if that doesn't make sense because we don't have the easements yet, there's nothing wrong with putting that money in the bank and saving it until you need it. I don't think we should just take that money and spend it because we have it.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
Robin, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with this topic to
Okay.
discuss it. I have not been made aware of this type of information, so I really, at this point, would rather not speak on it.
Okay. Robert?
Well, I'm going to be like Tanya, being a member of the Planning Commission. This is a new question that until now, I know nothing about selling this building. But I would say, being a mortgage lender, I'm always going to say not all debt is bad. But at the same time, as if the town were to sell a building and we have debt, I'm a firm believer municipalities that are debt-free are a better way to go.
Thank you, Robert. Russ?
At the moment, we have just changed the lease on the Forest Service building from what it had been for a long time to something currently where the income that's now coming into the town is sustainable. And I'm not so sure we want to sell it. Obviously, I would have to give that vote a lot of consideration as a council member, because we need to evaluate the current income level, not the past income level, because there's a considerable difference in what was and what is.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
Brings up another issue. I had no idea that there was any transactions going on with that building. There's been no public knowledge of that. It would have to be confined, I imagine, with just counsel.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Another question that we'll start, Tanya will start with, is a question that what community services or what involvement have you provided to the town to help you prepare to be considered for election and/or re-election to the town council?
I would definitely start off by my 24 years of living in the town, with 14 of those being in Silverthorne. My 10 years with Planning Commission, I feel, is definitely a vital and a definite asset to the town. I'm also, as I told you, 3 years on the Police Citizens Advisory, along with the town of with the town Summit County Advisory. With my job in the planning department for Summit County as code enforcement, I'm constantly dealing with those type of issues also. So I feel definitely very well-rounded and involved in the community as much as possible.
Thank you, Tanya. Robert?
Would you repeat that question again?
Absolutely.
Sounds like a duplicate.
What community services or involvement have you provided to the town to help prepare you to be considered for election and/or re-election to the town council?
Short and sweet. A number of years I've been on the Planning Commission, all the development that I've been involved in, the approval of items, the denial of items, going into looking at things with an open and objective vision of what the town is going to be. So the 14 years being here in this room and the 25-plus years being in the town of Silverthorne itself.
Thank you, Robert. Russ?
The impact that we have had an opportunity to make in the 9 years that I've been involved with the town government, both Planning Commission and Town Council, we have changed what Silverthorne is. And we have changed it to a who knows what it is, to a firmly motivated, forward-thinking place to live. And we now have people who want to come here to live.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
Well, I think interaction with not only the police department here, and I'm on the advisory board, but I also have worked with a lot of citizens in Silverthorne through the police department, and with a lot of employees here with problems and issues that they've had. But everybody here has been on the Planning Commission, and everybody is in that same circle. And I'm an outsider and a new I guess, focus on what can be done and what should be done and how the general public feels that I interact with. So I can't say that I've been 14 years on this committee or that committee, but I've got a lot of experience in presidents of HOAs and other things that I've done that I didn't put into a perspective. So I think just bringing a new light into an area always helps make better decisions.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
Well, as I mentioned a couple of times, it's really important in government that you understand the rules and that you follow the rules and you apply them fairly to everybody. So I do believe that whether it's 14 years or a year, experience on the Planning Commission is critical to being an effective town councilor. In addition to sitting on town council, I'm involved in our sport committee, the Summit Combined Housing Authority, so I'm involved in workforce housing issues throughout the county, help develop the Arts and Culture Strategic Plan, and the other volunteer activities that I mentioned. I'm also the treasurer of my homeowners association, and I've recently taken on responsibility for a weed management program for one of our neighborhoods. I think that because I've lived in Silverthorne for 4 years, I'm not here as long as a lot of other people, I am very committed to the town and I believe in the vision, but I also bring a different perspective that I think is important. And I think the people I've worked with on the Planning Commission and Town Council would tell you that they appreciate that perspective.
Thank you, Joanne. Because we're running a little short of time, I'll do one more question, and then we'll go to closing statements from all the candidates. If you had to prioritize between Smith Workforce Housing and the Lake Dillon Theater, what would you support, or do you think you could do both? Robert?
I can't answer that, because without having the particulars of either one, knowing the finances of operational costs of the theater and what is being proposed for that workforce housing, you're not comparing apples to apples, but I don't have the apple and the apple to say which would be better or which would be worse. So I'm not even going to answer that question.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I think you just did. Russ?
That's a hard decision to make, but nevertheless, if it faced the town and it had to be made, then I'm sure because of the collaborative way that this council has worked in the time I've been involved with it, we would end up figuring out how to make both happen. And I believe we can have a theater. We might not pay for it quite as early as we thought we were going to originally, and still build workforce housing at the same time.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
I think based on council's own statement, it's going to be very, very difficult to do both. And my preference would be to bring workforce housing into the perspective before we bring in a theater that's non-revenue producing.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
I think in a way there's a false choice here because the town can't develop Smith Ranch on its own. The town has got to find a development partner in order to be able to do that. As I mentioned, just the infrastructure costs are tens of millions of dollars. And I don't think Smith Ranch is the only solution to workforce housing. There are other things that we can look at and we are looking at that are much more immediate, like density bonuses in the downtown, working with employers to provide workforce housing, down payment assistance, housing subsidies. So I think it's a false choice. I think we can do workforce housing with infill projects, rehabilitation projects, and we don't need to say we can only do one or the other.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
Roman, I'm going to have to go with what Bob said in reference to, I just don't feel that I have enough information at this time to be able to make an adequate decision on that. I haven't been educated enough and studied it.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Thank you. Closing statements are now up, so the closing statements here. Russ, I believe you'll start with your closing statement.
Okay. I believe we need consistent leadership that connects where we have been to where we are going. I am completing my second year on town council plus 7 years on planning commission, as you've already heard. Prior to Silverthorne, I served 11 years on the Snake River Planning Commission and 12 years on Summit County Open Space Advisory Council. I successfully led 2 homeowners associations with no major disputes for a combined 29 years. My degree in engineering and 40 years in industry give me decision-making skills and an understanding of complex projects. Specific projects that I would like to take to fruition include the Performing Arts Center, a walkable downtown, and the Smith Ranch. I believe I have a lot to offer the town going forward and ask for your vote.
Thank you, Russ. Tom?
I want to thank you for holding this forum tonight and for allowing the 5 of us to express our views on what Silverthorne needs as it moves forward. Ultimately, the voters have to decide why any one particular candidate is preferred over the other. I believe I have demonstrated that my qualifications are unique among the 5 of us. My professional background in mediation certainly should help resolve a lot of the issues that come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Joanne?
Before I address my closing statement, I wanted to clarify one thing that was brought up earlier about the Performing Arts Center, and that was a statement that was made that was only going to benefit a few people. The town's vision of the Performing Arts Center is not that this is something just for theater goers. This is for the community. There's going to be an outdoor movie screen. There's going to be a lawn for people to enjoy and a connection to the river and educational workshops and dance studios. So it's a much bigger project than just the Lake Dillon Theater. With regard to why I would like people to vote for me, the first reason is my experience. I have experience on the town council and on the planning commission, significant experience in land use decisions, and 25 years of accounting and finance. The other is my personal values. I feel very strongly about high ethics and high standards and treating people fairly and respectfully. And I support the vision for the town in terms of both the downtown and the walkable downtown, the Performing Arts Center, and capitalizing on that to help grow our economic diversity and our economic base. Because when you get down to it, we can't do any of the things that any of us have talked about without a strong economy and strong sales tax revenues. So focusing on our business base and growing that is really important. An effective town council member has to be somebody who's willing to listen and talk to citizens and businesses, and the town council itself needs to be a forum to discuss ideas and issues. But at the end of the discussion, we all have to agree to work together and support the town 100%. And that's what I commit to do if I'm elected in April.
Thank you, Joanne. Tanya?
Perfect. I love where I live and where I play. I living here and working here in the community for the last 24 years. I love living in Willowbrook. I love working in the community. With the 9 years that I've had on the planning department, along with working for the Summit County Planning Department, I feel that that's a definite asset in education. I also would like to continue to work on the development of the town core, along with making and working on traffic improvements in the town of Silverthorne. I love the work that I've done here with the planning department, citizens advisory, and the other committees that I'm on, and I feel that working with the town council would be a good step in the right direction to further my growth of Silverthorne and my growth as a person.
Thank you, Tanya. Robert, you had the first word tonight. You get the last word.
Boy, I was looking for this. I'm going to say thank you, Wolf Blitzer. It was very nice to have a non-confrontational. I was not born in Canada. I'm not going to give free college. I look at things maybe a little bit different than most other people, and maybe the reason is I was brought up in a medical family. In college, I got through college as a paramedic on an ambulance, 11 at night to 7 in the morning. So what I see here that happens in planning commission or council is generally not life or death, and I've seen that. So I look at something open-minded. I ask for your vote. I ask for your friends to vote for me. I look at what we do is I'm looking at 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. You got to have a sense of humor. Otherwise, I would have quit planning commission a long time ago. What we're doing here is not brain science and rocket surgery. What we're doing is just everyday business for a very diverse business that we all live in. I'm not planning to move, I'm planning to stay here, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Robert. Please give your town council candidates a hand. Very nice job, and I'd like to thank the audience here. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all the questions that were submitted. Hopefully, you've maybe had those questions answered by other questions that the candidates had fielded tonight. I want to encourage you to stick around, ask the candidates, all of them, or maybe an individual or two, if you have some more questions about what they feel about certain things. Do stick around, and they'll be here to answer those questions. Also want to encourage you to talk to your neighbors, friends you meet, and have them get involved in the community, because that's what it's about. You're here because you're involved. So do encourage other people you know to get involved in this community. It makes a better community for everyone when you do that. And don't forget, the election is April 5th. You can get more information and the results of the election through the town website, townofsilverthorne.org. Other than that, my name is Roman Moore. Thank you so much for being here, folks.